Welcome, to the Rustenburg podcast.
Morning, Sanbonani Molweni, Huyamori Rustenburg. This is our first podcast for 2026, and we are super excited. I am super excited to be doing this podcast. It's quite a very, I don't know if I should call it a deep conversation, but it's an interesting conversation that a lot of parents need to know about it. And of course, I'm not alone. I am here with Mrs. Peterson. Good morning, Mrs. Peterson.
Morning.
How are you?
I'm good, bright and early on a Saturday morning.
On a Saturday morning. And I'm also joined by Owen Henderson. A lot of parents, a lot of teachers and staff members might know Owen. And how are you, Owen?
Good morning, everybody, and welcome. I am so glad to be part of this conversation. Having walked the road with Rustenburg now for the last 6 years.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
Happy New Year. When does the Happy New Year end? Today is the 31st of January. And this is the first time I'm seeing you.
I think it's normally when it gets to Easter time that you stop saying Happy New Year.
That's so far. That is super fun. Do you, maybe let me start with Belinda. Do you have had any, weird might not be the words to use, but any strange New Year's resolution from the girls specifically?
No, not really.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't really had those conversations with any of the girls, so
Yeah.
but I'd be interested to know what some of them have come up with.
Yeah. No, I mean, my mom was telling me the other day that I think when I was 8 or 9, Owen, that my New Year's resolution was to stop playing. And she just said, yeah. So I can just imagine the grade 1s and the grade outs with their New Year's resolution. Okay, cool. I want to jump into this conversation. I want to jump to why we're here today. We are discussing our 5-year strategic plan, theme. This is where I think the whole community of Rustenburg gets to contribute, gets to have a voice, and it's sometimes not easy because those are like very difficult conversations to have. Or when you help facilitate those conversations, those tough conversations. And sometimes I wonder, how do you find it? Is it an easy process before we get into what is it?
I think it's a very easy process if you come in as a outside or neutral facilitator. It makes it easier in that you are able to hear the voices. You are able to hear the voices from a neutral perspective. And sometimes creating the space for people just to say what they want to say. We use various processes, whether it's group conversations, individual conversations. And so in this last process, I had a few mass conversations. So whether it was with the SMT, SGB, or whether it was with parents and staff, we created big open platforms for people to contribute, to say their say. There's no judgment from my side. I take the content as it is. I might ask questions of clarification to make sure I understand what people are trying to communicate. But that's it. I mean, I think my experience, both here at Rustenburg and in other schools, has been having a neutral facilitator does make a big difference.
Okay, Mrs. Peterson, let's then go straight into it. Let's speak about what is the 5-year strategic plan. But I know that the new one that we have, there was another one before this one.
Yeah.
Let's speak about what it is, how did it start, and what is different from the last one to what we have now. It's a very loaded question.
So you want me to go back to the start?
Yeah, let's go back to the start.
Okay, so I arrived at Rustenburg in middle 2019, and obviously the school was doing a lot of work already around transformation, employment equity, and a whole lot of other things. And there were sort of consultants, facilitators involved in the school prior to my arrival. So and they did a lot of good work in terms of unpacking things and opening the door for conversations. And so in 2020, while we were in lockdown, we were all at home still. We, as an SGB, and particularly for myself, it gave me a chance to step back and see, the 9 months that I'd had at school before we went into lockdown, what had I picked up around the work that was done and what I could see needed to still be done. And so then we decided to go on this journey of sort of an organizational development process, and not just particularly around a group of people or groups of people or just SGB or just SMT, but the entire school community. And then we found Owen through quite a process, but we came across Owen, and that started the conversations on, okay, what does this look like? We obviously don't know what the future looks like, but what does this process look like for us? And so we went on this journey of Owen ran some engagement sessions with us, really just, as I said, listen to people's voices and collating all of that. So that's how the first 5-year strategic plan was birthed from 2021 to 2025, which was really focused on a lot of things that came from our school community. So predominantly the staff, the parents at the time, the governing body, the school management team at the time. And so that really gave us an opportunity to sit back and go, okay, these are the voices, this is what people would like to see at Rustenburg. And we then developed the 5-year plan from there, which was focused on a lot of projects, tasks, things that we wanted to change in 8 different areas within the school. And then obviously that came to an end last year in 2025, and then Owen came on board again to run some sessions with us, kind of doing a bit of a review of what had happened during the 5 years, but also looking ahead to what still needed to be done. Was there anything new that was coming up? And so so this year we kick off our next 5-year plan, which is focused, it's got a bit of a different focus, more on innovation, from innovation to sustainability, really. Because in the first 5 years it was a lot around starting new things, implementing things. Here it's around, okay, how do we ensure that things are sustainable, that people are developed at a much deeper level in order for the school to move forward meaningfully. And just ensure that whatever systems we implement, whatever we do, the vision of the school is sustainable for future generations.
No, I must say, Mrs. Peterson and Owen, that one tangible thing that I've seen myself from, I think, the first strategic plan that you worked on with Rustenburg. So in 2020, 2021, one of the line items there was to get a communications manager. And now I'm sitting here from 2021, from those conversations, from parents, from staff, and any other engagement. Was there, in your process, Owen, as you engage with different stakeholders, was there anything that was like shocking for you?
So if you're talking about the first or the second process, so certainly in the first process, one of the biggest challenges, and not unusual for organizations of the size, is a dislink or not a proper flow of communication. And we picked up on the idea of why your role was created was actually to try and facilitate some of that and enable communication to flow top down and bottom up. And I think for me that was one of the surprises, I guess, in terms of the process, and then the school's commitment to deliver on that. So one of the things I experienced from being here 5 years ago and now engaging with the school, one of the positive feedbacks that came from stakeholders was communication had significantly improved. And there's various initiatives that the school has taken to ensure that, whether that is within grades, within a particular area of the organization, or whether it's across the system. So communication for me was an improvement. I think the surprise for me was often you get involved in facilitating conversations, and the conversations can be quite robust. But for me the surprise this time was the tone of the conversations had shifted, where it was very negative and adversarial initially. This time around was much more positive. Yes, there were still challenges being raised, but the tone was a lot more positive, which indicated to me there was a shift in the culture, there was a shift in how we engage, why we engage, and that was very positive.
So are you saying from the first strategic planning to now, there was that change? Wow. Would you account that to, because people are kind of like afraid of change, and it was the first time this level of engagement was happening, because we don't know how this looks like. We don't know what we say. We don't know, because now we've experienced it for 5 years. We went through this journey for 5 years. So now when we re-engage, now perspective is quite different because now they understand the journey. You know what I mean?
And I think people experience the results from what we planned in the first, even though not every action was taken and implemented, there was a lot that was done. And so I think that positive application and energy has resulted in a more positive engagement opportunity now. The reality though is, I think one of the challenges of stakeholders always in a public, open, consultative approach is everyone wants their voices to be heard, and they want every issue to be dealt with, which is not practical. Sometimes an idea is an idea, but it's not the right time to execute or to implement that particular solution. And so I think one of the things I was cautioning stakeholders in this round was, just be aware that yes, we're listening, we're hearing everything, but not everything can be executed. And I think people were happy to receive that. And because of the honesty in which we engaged in the previous 5 years, I think there was a lot of more positive energy.
Okay, back to you, Mrs. Petersen. Let's speak about the aim and the purpose. What are we trying to do here? Why do we have this? Why is it important for Rustenburg to have this? And I don't know if you've thought that far, that what happens when you walk out of this door one day, whether retirement or, but what is the purpose? What's the aim? Why are we doing this?
So being, like Owen said, we're quite a large school community. I mean, we've got around 650 girls in our school, which means like over 1,000 parents. Our staff is quite large as well. And everybody has their own perspective, which they should have. That's the beauty of diversity. And they should be bringing their different lived experiences, their perspectives and ideas to the table. But obviously in the school community of roughly 2,000 people, that's a lot of perspectives to take into account. And so really this process and why I particularly felt in 2020 that we needed to embark on this was around whole school strategic alignment. So yes, we may have different ideas and see things differently, but how do we align with what we want for our Rustenburgs and the vision of the school that will stand the test, the test of time, because that's why we're here. We're here for the goals. And so it was really around, there are different perspectives and disagreements, and that's okay. That should be happening. We can't all agree on everything. So how do we make sure that we can still move forward with diversity, with different perspectives and voices, and still move forward in a meaningful way that serves the goals and serves our school community as best as possible. So it was really around trying to achieve alignment as far as possible. So, and my dream is, I mean, you mentioned when I leave one day, I will leave one day, whether it's I stay until retirement or I leave before then, I don't know what the future holds. But my dream and vision really for Rustenburg is that this is a school community that continues to function well, in terms of outputs of academic, sport, music, and all of the other things that our girls, achieve in. But also that as a school community we are grounded in, one, our history, but two, in our ability to be adaptable and flexible in this very diverse world.
I think that was the next conversation. That's where I wanted to go. That's really what I wanted to go, because just globally, let me leave the global. In South Africa, actually, Western Cape, the development and everything that's happening from technology, from innovation, it's changing at a rapid speed, right? A lot of things, AI has been introduced. It's such a huge change, and it's not only something that's impacting corporate world, certain sectors, it's across the board, right? Recently, I got introduced to a guy called Aisho Speed, and he was traveling from the US with cameras just visiting South Africa and African countries, and he had about 58 million views and all of those things, and they were like, just check. I was like, sure, I wonder what is varsity doing from a curriculum point of view to now, because careers are now shifting, you know what I mean? And I wonder what high schools are doing, I wonder what primary schools are doing to make sure that tomorrow, whatever careers that we are preparing the learners for, they're able to adapt to whatever, because it's just no longer the standard ones that we always know, right? But from a strategic point of view, even the strategic 5-year plan, because we are a business of education, how does that speak into that part? The innovation, the technology, even around education? Because, and this is my personal view, that a lot of times I find teachers being very scared to dabble in the world of technology, or something new rather, let me put it that way.
So I think that's something at Rustenburg that we seem to get right.
Yeah.
Through learning and through knocking our heads and making mistakes, of course.
Yeah.
But that's why, you know, we're a multilingual school, and we work on being multilingual, promoting multilingualism. We've introduced Xhosa as a first additional language at our school. So the girls are learning all 3 languages up to grade 7. So that they can be proficient, and so that's one of the things we're preparing for, is in terms of language, because language links very significantly to diversity and how we live as a diverse community and work together and so on. And then, you know, the other thing, as you mentioned, technology, we have coding and robotics as a subject already, and so that was a path that we decided to embark on a few years ago.
Yeah.
And I think the strategic plan and that process catapulted and sort of made us really focus on that, because, as Owen said, there were some things in the previous plan that we didn't get to.
Yeah.
But we decided to focus energies on specific things that we knew were really important. And one was having a space that was conducive to coding and robotics, because you can't have fixed tables and all sorts of things and fixed PCs. It needed to be a flexible space, and so we have that now. You know, we launched that last year and opened that room, and so that's exciting, because now girls have a space where, and our coding and robotics teachers have spaces where they can really go in depth with, you know, coding and all sorts of other things. So, you know, those are exciting things for our girls, and yes, we don't know what the future is going to hold. In terms of you know, the world of work and what we're preparing the girls for, because by the time they finish junior school and high school, the world's going to look different. We just have to do our best for what is it currently, like AI and so on. You know, we've got to explore those things. We can't, you know, just say, oh, well, we're junior school, it doesn't apply to us. This is the world that the girls are growing up in, and they already know about AI. So our duty is to educate them. It's not to shy away from it. It's not to say, well, it's not appropriate. And yes, there are times when it is inappropriate, but we've got to teach them how and why to use it properly and responsibly.
Owen, back to you. I mean, when you do your engagements, the reality is that not everything is rosy and nice and all of those things. What do you seem to find a common thread in terms of like barriers, challenges to implement some of the things that we've put into plan? What are the voices saying? Are the parents saying the same thing as the staff members, as SGB having the same voice with SMT? What seems to be the difficulties in achieving some of the items or pillars?
So the voices across the stakeholder groups were pretty similar. There were a few areas where perhaps there was, you know, from a particular sectoral group, whether it was the parents, whether it was the staff, and I find even within the staff there are different voices. So your academic staff sometimes sees things slightly different to your operational staff in terms of how they see the strategy and how they see things being implemented and executed. I think the common or a barrier for me would always be, it's often not the technology, it's often not the money even, but it's often the people issues that creates the biggest barrier for execution and implementation. You know, whether it's a lack of accountability to do what you need to do, whether it's a lack of leadership to ensure you are moving forward in the right direction and you're bringing your teams with you. But I find the human side of execution is 95% the challenge, rather than the resources, the technology that is stopping you. In the Rustenburg case, I think for me, the positive, again, comparing the previous process, was Rustenburg embarked on internal training and development as a big portion of the strategy. And I think it's remained something important to go forward. That if you don't build the capability of the people to do what they need to do, hold them accountable in terms of what they should do, you're not going to get very far. And so for me, that is an exciting part. I guess being a developmental individual, oriented person, I get excited about when I see organizations actually taking that aspect seriously.
Yeah. I like what you said, because I wanted to ask you a different question. What you mentioned was really important, because you're saying 95% of the time you find that there's barriers as people. But again, Rustenburg is, and together with you, they're coming up with a solution to say, let's develop these people. Let's have conversation with them as a group, as individuals. Let's develop them so that we've given them the skills to say, the people problem, this is how you then start to be accountable and all of that. Can you briefly take us into that process when you do that leadership program or development?
So I think that the start of the leadership program is to create some awareness of the individual. Often our challenge around implementation and execution is behavioral, because the individual is not showing up in the way that he or she should be. So the leadership program at Rustenburg, it's founded in understanding self and becoming self-aware, because when you're aware of who you are, you can start making shifts and changes. I think so forming part of the team that's helping that development, and I'm not the only one. I mean, I think there's lots of other conversations that is taking place. There are other stakeholders that's coming in to support the school in the development of its people. But I think the root of it, me, is starting with the self. Because when you're aware of your strengths, your weaknesses, you can make some shifts. But if you don't know that this behavior perhaps is having a negative impact on the girls or your team, guess what happens? You just keep going around knocking, hurting, and damaging things versus actually moving things.
Maybe let me put this question then to both of you, and you can start off with Mrs. Peterson. You mentioned challenges and barriers that we somehow have control over, and I'd like to put to the table that there is others that we don't have control over. Regulations, WCD, socio-political issues, socio-economic issues. There's so much that is outside of our control. How do we then address something like that?
Sure, Sophia. I think, for me, it's really just important that people understand who they are. Like Owen was saying. I mean, and it started when we embarked on this journey of the leadership team, the management team, and us doing this process first. And really understanding that we need to show up the best that we can, despite what's happening around us, and recognizing when things are outside of control. That's okay. But we're responsible for what's in our control. So irrespective of, and yes, there are policies we have to adhere to. We're a public school, and there's no way of getting around that. So it's understanding that within that space that we operate in, within all the other things that's happening in the world that does impact us, it impacts everybody. It's still how we show up for that. And it's recognizing that while for some of us those issues are big, and it affects us more deeply than others, we still have to find this pathway where, as a Rustenburg, what is it that we have control over? What is it that we show up for? What is it that we think is important for the sake of our goals, for the sake of the school's vision and what we stand for as a school? And so I think this process, the strategic process, the two plans that we've embarked on, as well as the leadership effectiveness training that Owen's been doing and continues to do with us, and he'll continue to do it for quite some time, I think. It's marrying all of that together, because you can't have a plan without having the people to make it happen. There's no way, because that's then just ideas on paper. Well, for us it's on a Google Doc, but that's really what it is. And it doesn't depend on me. I'm one person. It doesn't depend on the school management team. We 8 people. The governing body is also really small. We need everybody on board. And so that's why we've gone this process, so that when those things come and we've got to navigate things that are outside of our control, we know enough within ourselves as individuals and as a school community who we are. And that doesn't shift. In this essence,
Maybe just to add to that, Belinda, for me, around the human side, I mean, we speak in corporate, historically to speak about, people are our biggest asset. I kind of always hated that concept because, people are the things that make our business.
Yeah.
They make our organizations. They're the ones that grow, develop, and learn as they try and execute and implement. I think the notion of the individual, staying the same over the process, over a period of time, is not real.
Yeah.
And I think even when we're speaking about the strategy and the shift in the focus of the strategy this year, which is around, it's no longer just pure innovation, but it's about how do we consolidate what we have innovated within, and how do we build a structure and a system now that is robust enough, flexible enough, resilient enough to face any challenge coming forward. And you can't create a computer system for that. That's where the people becomes the unique differentiating factor. And so for me, the development of your people going forward, and this is something, I don't just believe it because I benefit out of the support I can provide in that space, but I genuinely believe that if you don't grow your people, if you don't create enough robustness in their ability to face the challenges of the future, you're not going to get very far. You're going to keep coming back and you're going to keep fighting about the same issues because your people aren't growing.
Yeah.
But if they grow, they develop, they become better at actually being able to receive each other at the same time all the new challenges that might be facing. And I think that's one of the elements in the new strategy that for me has come quite clear. And it was something that was affirmed by both parents and the staff, is this need to have the right people in the right positions to be able to take things forward. And so the system needs to be built beyond a Belinda. The system must be built beyond an individual to try and achieve it, because if you can raise leaders, I think you can take it so much further.
Sure. Okay. Then let's dive deeper into the strategic plan, or the 5-year strategic plan. What do you think the things that are there that require immediate action? And do you believe there is anything there that's not achievable within 5 years? In your honest reflection.
One thing I didn't mention when I was explaining the plan earlier was the fact that what I love about this plan and the previous plan is that it's not Belinda's ideas in it.
Yeah.
It's the school community's ideas.
Yeah.
And that's what, the process that Owen's taken us on, captured. We've literally just taken that data and put it into a plan over 5 years. And I think for me, I'm a glass half full kind of person. So for me, anything is possible in that plan.
Lovely.
I don't believe that there's anything that's without, or that's not within our reach.
Yeah.
Again, if we have the right people, if we put the systems in place, if we give the support that is needed, if we put the resources behind it, anything in that plan is achievable.
Yeah.
Right. It's just when it's achievable. And yes, while we have mapped out 2026, this is what we want to focus on, 2027, etc. There are some things in the plan where we're going, this is not for now, but maybe in 2028 we can start tackling that. That's realistic.
Yeah.
We can't tackle everything. There's too much in that plan. There are 10 strategic themes. We move from 8 to 10. Not that there's more in the plan, it's just structured very differently, which also speaks to our growth. So it's really just about us going, even within the things that we've set aside for 2026, what are the things that we need that's urgent, that is important, that we need to focus on right now, because it's going to impact everything else that's in that plan, and the ability to be able to tackle those things. So for me, personally, and my leadership style and what I put emphasis on is always the growth of our people. And that, like Owen said, is not just through this process. We have lots of different things within our school that particularly helps our staff grow. And again, they're also accountable for their own growth. So while we put structures and systems and things in place, I can't hold people's hand and go, okay, you must do this and you must finish this within 3 months. They're their own people, and people will want to grow in the areas that they want to grow, and we support that as a school. I support that. And so that's one of the things we're focusing on is well-being, and what does it look like here at Rustenburg for our staff and particularly for our goals. because they are growing up in a world that is really different to when we were at school. And how do we make sure that with everything that's coming at them, even as young children who are exposed to technology and social media at a very young age, which we don't promote here, but yeah, how do we make sure that they're taken care of? We have a duty of care to them, and as principal of the school, I have a duty of care to the staff. To ensure as best as possible that they're taken care of. I can't make everybody happy, but certainly the things that we have in place here, how are we making sure that they are growing? And so for me, really, that's I think the initial focus. There might be a couple of other things as well. There's always academic stuff and sport and music and all of that. And certainly in terms of infrastructure, we are a heritage site, and there's so much that needs to be done with the school within those boundaries to make it future fit. And so we're starting those conversations already. Yes, things may not physically change within the next year or so, or start to change, but it's, again, we need to have the conversations. We need to get the right people in the room who understand these things, who understand heritage and understand all of what is required and what we want things to look like and how we can bring things together. So a lot of it will be around initially those conversations, those plans, those strategies that we need to look at, the systems that we need to build to be able to get to the other things in the plan.
Okay. And then on from when you obviously engaging with parents, staff, and all the stakeholders, was there anything that you picked up and you said, this one needs to be done tomorrow?
So interesting. As Belinda was talking, I was thinking of two things. She might be surprised with some of these two things, but it's really interesting because I think they are very real. Years back, I was doing some work for a big engineering firm. And they had done a whole lot of staff engagement stuff. And I remember from a previous regime into a new regime in the leadership of this organization, I started engaging and everybody moaned historically about the coffee machines in the organization. It was really bad coffee, and I'd come back to do a review and they'd fix the coffee machines. And in the second round, the new thing that was on the table was parking, because where they were situated, the parking. And I remember myself and another consultant, we did the cost-benefit analysis. We said, just pay for the parking. You will solve so many problems with this organization. It's going to cost you so many millions of rands if you provide parking for your staff. It's a small price to pay to create some happiness and some forward movement. But I found interesting in this round, one of the things that kept coming up in Rustenburg was the bus. The bus. Everyone was talking about the bus, about transport and the bus.
Actually, no, I'm not surprised. I forgot about that.
The bus.
We are doing something.
The bus was one of the issues that came out in this round at all stakeholders, including SMT, SGB. The bus. And I from my engagement with the school, I know they're doing something about the bus, and maybe you can inform stakeholders more about that. But that was an issue. That was an issue. And then the second one was actually around infrastructure. So this demand for future fit infrastructure, which in the context of Rustenburg being a heritage site is a challenge. But I think the key thing stakeholders must understand about any strategy or any plan is that it's incremental. It's not, you can't do everything in one go. You don't have the resources, you don't have the time. It's sometimes to execute a plan well, you need to plan it well. And so there's talk about what's required long term. There's some little niggly things, for example, just basic infrastructural shifts and changes to be made. But then there's a long-term thinking around infrastructure and what that plan looks like. And my encouragement to the SGB was certainly to communicate more clearly where you are right now as a school and what that plan looks like 3, 5, maybe even 10 years from now. That there is a mega infrastructure plan, that it's not going to happen tomorrow, but as long as stakeholders know. In 5 years' time, I might see the additional whatever I think is required. And I think that's so those are the two things as we were talking. It's kept coming back. The bus and the long-term infrastructure stuff. We want this, we want that. It's not possible.
So I can surprise you with both of those things.
Okay.
So we actually are busy with the pilot transport project, should I say, just trying to figure out what's going to work best for Rustenburg. So that's happening for the first 6 months of this year. And funny, because we've already started it, for me it's like, okay, we're already there, so I didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
And we've already received some feedback around that, which has been really good. This is a learning process now, and then we're going to look at what solution suits us best. And then with the infrastructure as well, we've already communicated. So we've been learning with the school community around, what the future plans are. So we've already embarked on a process with another company around, architecture and what we can look at. So, I think, what Owen was saying earlier about the communication and, what we learned through that process and putting things in place. We're already on that. So the school community already knows about the transport project, the infrastructure plans, that it's long term, but we've already got something that we're working with at the moment. So, yeah.
And I guess there's always opportunity for those quick wins, because if you can create some quick wins after the planning process, just executing with some small things, that creates a bit of momentum, and enthusiasm for future.
Yeah.
And if I could encourage the school community, both the parent community, the girls as well as the staff, is don't keep contributing. Because I think sometimes when we get tired and we feel like it's taking so long to execute something, but keep involved or stay involved. Keep bringing your voice, your encouragement. And sometimes if you need to be negative in a nice way.
Yeah.
So that it moves things forward rather than stop the momentum that the school is trying to create.
Yeah. And you spend time engaging on this negativeness instead of putting it differently. Okay, one last thing. If you had to leave one message to Rustenburg stakeholders, right, just looking directly into this camera, about how to support this 5-year plan, what would you say to them?
A couple of things.
Okay.
So I think the first thing is we've made the plan available to everyone. So staff, parents all have access to the plan, and I know there's a lot of information in there, but to take the time to actually just see what we're wanting to achieve and what you as a school community has told us, because as I said before, I can't quite remember exactly what I said and contributed in those engagement sessions, but it's to see what is our school community saying and what have we mapped out for the next 5 years to build sustainable systems. So the first thing for me is engage in the plan, read it, perhaps if you have any questions, feed that through to us, to myself or to the governing body, so that we can continue to hear your voice, because that hasn't stopped. That doesn't, just because the plan is now in motion and we started on a couple of things, it doesn't mean that we're not listening to voices anymore. Because it might be that those ideas that are in the plan, there might be one or two where we've got to make some shifts because now different perspective comes in. And so that's really important, is to keep engaging with us. And then the other thing is that we do have opportunities for our school community to engage. We have school community meetings, which we're now shifting and calling community engagement instead, because it's really around engaging on the strategic plan. It's also around engaging on particular issues, like I know last year one of it that came through very strongly was around bullying and how we support our girls, particularly in those situations. And so we give these opportunities for parents to attend, be involved, staff as well, opportunities to learn and grow. So that would be my two initial things. And then last thing is, particularly to our parents, but also to our staff, is get involved. We've got numerous committees. Some of these things that's in our plan, we're going to have project teams, and we know there are parents who have a whole range of expertise in our school community, and we're very grateful and privileged to have that. And so if you see something in the plan that this is something that I can contribute to, this is something that I am good at, or simply you just have an interest in and you want to get involved, put your hand up. Email us, come and chat with us at various school events, or set up meetings with us and let's chat. We've already had a couple of parents on board saying, I want to be involved, and 2 of them have already run workshops for our staff this year, and we're only at the end of week 3. So, so parents are involved in our school. So just put your hand up, tell us what you want to be involved in. And even if you don't know where yet, we can figure that out as we go along. But that's to staff and parents.
Okay. Yeah. And then Owen, your closing comments, maybe in that camera.
Closing comments, and I think Belinda stole half of what I wanted to say as a closing remark. But maybe to quote Susan Scott, who said, our lives, our careers, our relationships succeed gradually, then suddenly, one conversation at a time. Even though no single conversation can change anything, every single conversation can.
Yeah.
And I think that echoes what Belinda said, which is get involved. Relationships don't break just all of a sudden. There's always a gradual before. And so don't let the next 5 years be your gradual within the context of Rustenburg. Bring your voice, contribute, get involved. And if involvement simply means, shouting encouragement from the sides, do that. But the plan is not a school plan without the stakeholders getting involved.
Yeah.
It's not a Belinda plan. It's not a SGB plan. It is a school community plan. And all the voices have had a chance to contribute. And as Belinda said, the voices, the contribution of those voices are still open. And so I think get involved. That's my encouragement.
Okay. Well, there we have it, Rusty Bucks. Our first podcast for the year. It was a quite interesting conversation that we had today. I think for me, my biggest take home is for everyone to show up for the greater purpose. What we're doing is so important for our girls. It's so important for the future of the country and globally, because I don't think they're changed to South Africa. I do see girls coming out and globally becoming global citizens and just being heroes. So staff members, team members, parents, and everyone just show up so that we can be able to see this plan into life. We've put in the work has been done in terms of the plan. Now the implementation, what's on the ground, we just need to show up. For me, I'm out of here. Until next time, thank you. We out of here. Cheers.